Howdy guys and girls, I am guitarist and producer Jay Parmar and you are watching The Ryan Webb Show. Let's rock!
Hey, Ryan Webb here, and hope you're doing great. So here I have Jay Parmar, who is an amazing guitarist, a producer, and also a crazy cool custom guitar builder. You know, what can I say? I'm really looking forward to this chat. So more about the custom build, that what I'm really looking forward to. As I said again, I'm going on about it. So if you are into such videos, please subscribe with that notification bell would be really appreciated. So let's dive right into this. Hey Jay, thanks for taking the time and having this chat with me, man. So who is Jay Parmar?
Thank you for having me on the show, first of all. Jay Parmar is this guy with lots of guitars and a YouTube channel, and I'm a professional guitar player. I have been for about 16, 17 years now. So I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, basically. Basically, I'm a studio guy, so I do sessions for people sometimes, and I do mixing and mastering, production work, producing. That's one side of what I do. I teach music as well. Build custom guitars, like you mentioned. Have a YouTube channel which I do weekly videos for, and have done for about 7 years now. And then over the last year or so, I've kind of got into modifying amplifiers as well, building amps, and
Cool.
I've gotten back to building pedals, which has been that's always interesting. I love building pedals and stuff like that. So yeah, bit of a
Cool.
musical.
So how did it all start, man? So how did you think, okay, were you a guitarist first, or were you, just really interested in music? How did it all begin, and, how did it all expand into different things?
Well, music started for me in terms of playing about 35 odd years ago at school. I played trumpet actually initially. I got into music when I was in high school and stuff. And then I started to get into rock music in my more senior years at school. And then it was just a natural progression to then pick up the guitar. So 89, I think I started playing. And then basically I went off to university, did something completely different, which I'll tell you about in a second, because it was literally a 180 from, doing music. And then about, I think about 14, 15 years ago, it was in 2006, I quit what I was doing to pursue music and do it full time. So it's been a journey of actually building up the business side of it, and also kind of, just the musical side of it and things. I'd started teaching, and then over the years, I've continued to teach, but also added different things to it, toured a little bit, and then go over to NAMM and play there and things like that. But prior to that, no, I was a guitar player, but kind of bedroom guitar player, and I was kind of recording and stuff anyways. But my previous life, my previous existence was as a lawyer. I was an attorney, so
Cool, man. That is so cool.
So I quit that. I was like, that's it. Enough of the lawyer world. I'm gonna play some rock and roll.
That is so cool, man, and really, really cool. So, what's that guitar that you have in your hand there, man?
This is my iconic guitars Evolution S guitar, which I love this guitar. It was custom made for me by Kevin Proctor over at Iconic. He's a really good friend of mine. I've gone over to NAMM and played for him a couple of times. This was my guitar which I wanted him to build, and I wanted it to feel and look like I'd had it since the early 80s, so all the body, maple neck, maple fretboard, reverse headstock. It was the first time that we did the reverse on the Iconic guitars. Also we put a sculpted neck joint in there, which is just super, super awesome to play. And I also had him relic it. It's like properly kind of relic. Now when he was relicking it, he was like, "Do you really want me to do this? Because this paint job looks freaking awesome." I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, do it. Trust me, it'll look great." And it does. And honestly, this guitar just feels like I've had it forever and a day. It's just so beautiful to play. Just the way he's made the neck and rolled the edges. Stainless steel frets on there, 22 stainless steel
Cool,
frets.
man.
I like going with locking tuners. I have shallow locking tuners on there, and just a I've got a Goto 510 on there. I sometimes use a Wilkinson VS 100. This one's quite special because this has a Wilkinson locking posts on there as well, string saddles, which are awesome
Cool.
because they actually
Yeah.
lock the string in place, and tuning's super stable and stuff. And just a great guitar. This is
Yeah.
one of the guitars which I always say to people, it plays itself. It's kind of pick it up.
I think maybe a beginner should get one of those guitars, and he doesn't have to do a lot of work. It plays itself. That's one way to put it, man. So cool. So being a custom guitar builder, man, how did this work for you? How do you kind of get somebody else to build a custom guitar for you? And how does that work? Being yourself, building guitars, and then you get somebody else build a guitar for you. And do you do any more work on it?
I guess it's a little bit of a trust thing, and because I played for Kevin a couple times at NAMM, I knew what his guitars were like,
All right.
and that the time before I ordered the guitar from him, I've been playing this blue guitar, which was pretty much exactly the same as this. There were some minor changes, but it's pretty much the same, and it just felt incredible to play. And as a builder, as somebody who's kind of like involved in the process of actually creating guitars, you really intimately get to know what you like about guitars, in terms of like how it feels, how it plays, how it sounds, how comfortable you are with it and stuff. And the guitar was just like ridiculously cool. There were some changes which I wanted to make to it. So at the end of that NAMM, which was 2019, I believe it was, Kevin said to me, "Hey, we'd love to bring you on board as an endorsee." And I'm an endorsee of the company now. So we should build you a guitar. And I said, "Okay, cool, let's do it." And it was simply because I knew what his work was like, and just the nth degree which he goes to kind of like make everything feel and sound awesome. As to changes, I screw around with kind of guitars all the time. The pickup's gonna change. Kevin's gonna
Cool, man. So would that shape, was that the shape you always wanted, like one of those Strats, or is that like a Strat or a Telly kind of a body shape you're going for?
Yeah, this is a Strat. Ideally, I would have, if I get another one done, at some stage I'll go for a Super Strat body, but this is more of a kind of Charvel type Strat body, which is awesome. This is what I wanted to go for with this one. And it's just really, really comfy to play. I've played Strats most of, my time. In fact, my first guitar was actually a Telly, but then I kind of, once I got into super strats and stuff like that, and watching, my heroes like George Lynch and Warren DeMartini and Eddie Van Halen and guys like that, they were all playing strats, it was like...
in the beginning stage, man, what was your first guitar?
My first guitar, I've actually got it. I can show you.
You're joking. You still have it?
I still have it. Well, I have the... It's, the neck has changed, and it was... a Telecaster, and it didn't quite look like this. It was all black at the time. It was by a Japanese company called Maya, and I'd actually taken the body off, and I'd planned to basically stick a piece of wood on here and make it a Strat. So I kind of like done all these like weird things, like I was going to cut out the horn a little bit so that you can see like
of course, man,
holes in there where I'd kind of just drilled into it and stupid things like that. But I'd hung onto the body, and it was basically just in storage for like about 20 odd years. I hadn't done anything with it, and then I basically resurrected it. This is the second or third neck I've put on there, and it works great. I play it sometimes. It's got that twangy sound and
Yeah.
cool, but it's nice to have because this was the body from the first guitar that I ever had.
I
So
had quite a few first guitars, man, which I got rid of stupidly. I think my first one was an American Dean. I think it was called a Dean Z or something like that. It
right.
was like this really cool 80s rock looking, like it was a white kind of weird guitar. Some guy saw me playing it and say, "Oh, I'll sell it to me." I was like, "What the hell? It's just a guitar. I just sell it to you. No big deal. What do I know?" It's like, you want the guitar? Okay, pay me X amount. You take the guitar, and I ended up buying Ibanez's and whatever, and then got rid of that. I've never been into Fenders really, even though I have one, just beyond there. I
Oh,
sometimes when you want that single coil kind of
mhm.
feel, you just grab it, and I, sometimes it just works, and that's the thing you need to go for, especially if you're doing any session work and
Yeah,
you want to get that kind of single coil feel. You have to go for Fenders. It's simple as that. There's no
yeah.
beating that. So, being a guitar builder, man, what do you have? Like a choice of, like, say, tuners and
I
strings and different gauge or brands. Do you stick to a brand of strings? How does it, there are so many options for, especially for you, man.
definitely, and there are specifics which I go for, and this is one of my spirit dance guitars. This is the type of thing that I actually build from scratch.
Okay.
And this is actually the first ever spirit dance guitar, which is my Medicine Crow guitar. Um, and I am very, very specific about spec and what I build. Every guitar is basically designed from the ground up for the customer. So because I do it that way, everything is possible. So it's not just restricted to a certain tuner. There are certain things that I like to use. Um, but if somebody wants different type of tuners, that's cool. If they want a different bridge, that's totally cool as well. There's certain specific pieces of hardware which I definitely put on, and a certain look as well, which is kind of the burnt thing. And you know, it's hand drawn artwork on this one.
Yeah.
That's a big thing about it. Um, and one of the things is it has to organically flow together.
Okay.
That's a big part of it. So on this one, it's got the tuners which I use on most of my spirit dances,
All
which
right.
are hip shot, open gear locking. I
Okay.
love these. Even on the ones with the Floyds on them, I always
Yeah.
put the tuners on
So
there.
what's so special about them, man?
They just look great. They look
Okay.
awesome. You, you
That's
can actually see
that
the
sells it, man. It
red.
locks and it fucking looks great.
Yeah, totally,
That's
man.
cool.
They just look the
Yeah.
bomb.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the carbon fiber at the back. Now,
Yeah.
this actually appears on all the spirit dance guitar builds. Now, on this particular build, the reason it's there is because it's structural. Because I don't know if you can see there, but there's a little line just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
While I was actually building this neck, I managed to snap the headstock. So
Oh dear.
it was repaired, and it's got a veneer on the top. It's like a half mil veneer, 0.75 mil veneer on the top,
Yeah.
and on the back, the carbon fiber is actually bonded in order to actually give it strength. And I built this in like 2012, so it's still holding.
Yeah.
So it started off structural, now it's basically a design thing. So I put that on the back to kind of,
Yeah.
say, yeah, this is spirit dance. This is the ethos of it.
So
Uh,
that guitar is for you to keep, right? That's all
yes,
yours.
yeah.
So can I ask you, man, how did the title come about, Spirit Dance?
Through meditation, actually. I was kind of I'm big into meditation and well-being and spirituality and stuff. So I was uh, thinking about what name to give it and what the branding would be and stuff. Now, spirituality was a big part.
Yeah.
When I meditated on the name, that's the name that came up, and it just stuck. And it was kind of like, yeah, that's the
Cool.
perfect name.
So is meditation still part of your everyday life, even now?
Yeah, yeah. I do it as much as possible. Sometimes I do skip days, but I always spend at least like a little while in the morning, just getting into my own space and
Yeah.
meditating and being grateful for you know everything around me and what I have and stuff. And that's the core of what it is. And then my everyday while I'm playing music, when I'm focused and really engrossed in what I'm doing, it's a form of meditation, because meditation is about just emptying the mind and emptying the body and just having that complete soul focus. So when I'm playing music, it's meditating, but it's in that
Yeah.
way of
Yeah,
you
you're
know.
locked in the groove, man. I totally get that. I've never been into, meditation and anything like that. I think I'm a bit of a, what would I say, impatient, chaotic kind of. I have to do things very quickly and rush around. I'll do three or four things at the same time, which basically tells a story of me and my wife, who is pretty much the same. She does three or four things at the same time, maybe more than me, anyhow. So we just bounce off each other. Anyhow, forget about that. So, what pickups are you using on that guitar, man? Or is that like the standard one just for that guitar, or do you carry on using that same pickup on different guitars?
On this particular one, they're by a company called Bertozzi Guitars, Guitar Works. They're in Italy.
All right.
Gabriele is actually a friend of mine, and he makes incredibly good pickups. So I do recommend these to clients, but um, everybody has a different like. So they
Yeah.
might like Arcanes, or they might like Seymour Duncans, or so they get to choose which pickups they'd like in their guitars.
Yeah.
I have installed the Bertozzis in one of the Spirit Dance builds that I did, which was the White Buffalo guitar.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a hot star in the bridge, which is the same. This is a set of hot stars, which are just incredible. The way to think about these, they're kind of like the Sir Doug Aldrich, but with a little bit of Thornbucker thrown in as well.
Cool.
So it's this beautiful balance between kind of like this really fat tone,
Yeah.
but you still got a little bit of kind of bite from it as well, and that high mix thing going on, which is just awesome, which is just the perfect blend. So they're beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
pickups.
A quick
But
one there. I noticed there you don't have a tone pot on that guitar. Am I right?
mm, absolutely not. Yeah, tone pots are the devil's work. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I never use them. I so rarely use a tone pot that most of my
Yeah.
guitars just don't have them, and
Yeah.
I think
It's
that
cranked
comes.
up anyhow, all the way up, isn't it? Really?
It's on 10, and
Yeah.
I think that comes from being a follower of George Lynch, actually. George is my biggest influence by far.
Yeah.
And, his guitars are basically, one volume pot. You're lucky even if you get a switch on it.
Yeah.
Usually it's like a push-pull selector on there as well.
Yeah.
So, it's just the basic. And so I've always played like that. I've never really kind of played with the tone pot, rolling it off or anything like that. So it
Cool.
becomes like, chocolate teapot on my guitar. It's useless. So
So,
build them.
can I quickly touch into how come you choose stainless steel frets, man? Is that a choice because of tone, or is because of you don't have to keep doing any fret work on it or something like that?
Both a little bit. I like the pingy tone of them. They're a little bit brighter sounding
Yeah.
than regular nickel frets, but also the longevity of them. You
Yeah.
know, this one actually has just regular nickel frets, but my iconic, it has stainless, and I recommend to people they get stainless, because
Yeah.
then you're set basically. You don't have to think about like refrets or anything like that, because the frets just last and last and last and last.
Yeah.
Whatever you do with them, whichever strings you use,
Yeah.
you know, um, it doesn't actually affect the frets. So yeah, just the hard wearing nature of them. And like I said, the tone changes a little bit. They're a little bit
Yeah.
bright.
Yeah.
So, I
Cool,
like
man. So, I know if this next question could be a very long one to kind of explain, so we'll try and kind of make it as compact as possible. So, diving into, since we are on the topic of custom guitars, so just say a crazy dude like me gonna get in touch with you, so get in touch with you and say, I want to build a custom guitar. So, what happens first?
All right.
How do you approach this thing first?
So first thing we do is have a Zoom call.
Yeah.
and I basically kind of get to know my customer and what their likes are and what they're looking for in a guitar. I explain what I do. Then is the design process. I completely design and render the guitar that they'd like, send them images and spec. Um, Once we've agreed on the design and the spec, basically take a deposit, and we're ready to go. We start
Cool,
building it.
man. That was quick. I thought it
Got the
was gonna
process
go like
down.
crazy. So basically, you will throw in your recommendations from, all these years of experience as a guitar player and a builder. You would say, if a customer is saying, I need this specific, fret cell, whatever, like this specific neck joint, or of course, the tone changes, doesn't it? Like, a different neck through or a bolt on or whatever it's called. And have you ever done anything that's a full on, like one piece, like a neck through?
No, no.
No.
And the reason I don't is because nobody's kind of requested it so far.
Okay.
But you know what? Um, the guy who builds my bodies and necks for me, Randy, he builds them in such a way that the neck joint is so incredibly tight and fitted
Yeah.
that you don't lose anything through the guitar. You
Okay.
generally don't anyway. There's this kind of, the perception is that if it's a bolt on, then you're going to lose something there. But you know what? It's marginal.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah.
experience as a builder, as a player, it's marginal. Some people prefer it because you get all access right up to the
Yeah.
higher frets and stuff. But with like sculpted neck joints and stuff, you don't really
Yeah.
need it anyways. Um, the convenience of having a bolt on as well, if anything happens to the neck, you can change it.
Yeah.
So there's a practicality element. But from that point of view, that actually, if you build the body and neck in such a way that the fit is absolutely precisely like a glove and it fits really smoothly, tightly into the neck pocket
Yeah.
without any movement, then hey, it's everything's going to transfer. And this is borne out by the people who have spirit dance guitars, because one of the constant comments about them is that it's just the way it plays and the amount of sustain and stuff is just ridiculous. And they're all bolt-ons. I haven't
Yeah.
made a neck
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, cool, man. So a little bit about, getting into amps. How did you get into making amps? So building, do you actually have your own signature amp right now?
Well, kind of, because I have right down here. I can't pick it up right now because it's kind of lovely. But Purple number 39 head, which is a converted Jet City JCA 22 head,
Okay.
so 20-watt Jet City head. I teamed up with Bryce Boyd at Epic Amplification about a year and a half back now, and we came up with a plan to actually modify my head. He actually does kits for Jet City amps, and he has
Okay.
done for some years. And we basically created my dream amp, which was basically the SIR number 39, which is the Studio Rentals amp, which everyone
Yeah.
used. That was the one George Lynch used, and Slash, and Warren DeMartini used the 36, and the 34 was used by Slash as well. So these are like, these were the amps, the very coveted amps. So that was a big part of it, and he actually had a kit which actually covered that. So that was the one part, and then the other channel we actually made into the SIR 34, which was like a plexi, but it also has an 800 mode on there. Plexi mode is
Cool.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then we actually added a control which turns it into the Aspen Pittman Purple Plexi as well, which is the one George Lynch is famous for using, Warren DeMartini as well. So it basically, and we did some other little mods to it, and it sounds like those amps from the late 80s, those modded Marshalls, which everybody kind of was like, sell this to me, and
Yeah.
SIR. Aspen were like, no, no way.
Cool,
But
man. So is there any chance of it being on the market for, sale or anything like that, like a custom build or whatever?
Hands are afoot. That's all I'll say. Watch this
That's
space.
so cool, man. So being into, now you being a guitar builder and amp builder, do you do anything with pedals, or do you have a big
Yeah.
pedal setup, or are you not into pedals at all?
I'm into pedals. I don't actually use too many in a chain, so I don't have like this huge kind of pedal board or anything like that, because literally my setup usually when I'm playing live is my amp, maybe a boost pedal into it, a
Yeah.
delay pedal, and that's it. I don't have a really kind of like elaborate kind of setup or anything like that because I just don't.
So
This is
what are your thoughts? This is gonna be a cool one. What are your thoughts on modelers, man? Like the Axe effects and Kempers and the Line 6 Helix and all that
they're
thing
great.
that, yeah, I pretty much got pretty much every single one year.
Awesome. Yeah, they're great. And I've got a couple here. In fact, this is
Yeah.
down here. I've actually got three. I've got the Hot Tone Ampero, the Ampero One, and the Veilton as well.
Yeah.
One of the ones by Veilton. They're fantastic. Models have really come a long way.
Yeah.
They serve a purpose. Do they completely sound like tube amps? I play tube amps all the time,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
still that.
You lose that oomph, man. I think you lose that
Exactly. Yes,
beefiness. Yeah. You lose that
exactly right.
gritty, beefy kind of uneven that it changes from, every note you play.
Completely.
It just changed. Modelers as a limitation. I think for me, it just some at the moment it's just working because I'm into just metal chugs and all that stuff. So I just dial right in and just save it, and it just get the creative process quicker, and you just keep making music. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So for
And
me, guys like me, yeah,
I kind of get around that with my amps actually because I guess I have two amps which I use most regularly, which is the Purple Number 39. I also use this, which is by my friend Stefan Putter at Red Stuff Amps,
oh,
and this
cool,
this is actually a 2 times 25 watt. This is a 50-watt amplifier. It's a stereo amp with a delay built into it and stuff as well. 3 channels, and it's actually got a DI on it as well. So we
cool,
built a DI into it, and I do a lot of work for Stefan, and we came up with this idea to do this. So, and also with my Purple Number 39, I have a Boss Tube amp expander as well.
yeah,
So usually what I do is I'll actually use that with impulse responses, and that basically allows me to use analog gear, but without having to mic it up. Now, miking it up is still ridiculously cool because
yeah,
I have a live room here at my studio,
yeah,
and I recently did a video where I was playing my Strat, and actually had the Purple Head mic'd up in the room, and there's just something about actually using microphones and speakers which are just really
yeah,
cranking up volume and stuff, which just, especially when you have a room mic set up. But
yeah.
impulse responses and a really good load box does absolute wonders these days. So it
Yeah.
allows you to use that tube sound, but just in a more practical way. So I've done that for many years now, just
Yeah,
using the
cool.
ability
For a
to do.
second there, my eyes went like, whoa, that cool looking amp, man, in a box. I need to get my hands on that. It looks so cool.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It's like I used that pretty much exclusively for a couple of years, and then once I built the purple, then it was between the
Yeah.
two. And Stefan actually sent me another amp. He very kindly sent me a really awesome Christmas gift, which was another tube head which he built, which is it looks like a rack unit.
Yeah.
I don't have it in the studio right now, but it basically looks like a rack mount unit,
Yeah.
but tubes. It's completely tube inside, and it's a high gain amp. So the Odin is another one which I'm going to start using as well in the studio as well. So
That's
yeah,
cool, man. That's cool. So when you're miking up cabs, man, are you going for your, vintage 30s, or what's your choice?
no, I have a wonderful sounding cab in the live room, which is a Gens-Benz 412, and it's loaded with Eminence private jack speakers.
Okay.
And it was one of those cabs where I was lucky enough to get it for like, I think it was like 150 quid
Yeah.
because um, Gens Benz were basically just selling old stock, and the original price of that was like 700, $800 or something like that. But it was just all knocked down. So I actually went into the music store, and they had two different cabs. They had the Gens Benz G Flex, which is the cab which it was built in conjunction with George Lynch. Um, so in my mind, it was like, gonna try out the G Flex. I'd known about the 1999 or something like that. So went into the store and tried the G Flex. Sounded good, awesome amp ported. So you get bass frequencies like coming straight at you, active baffle and all sorts of things like that. But then they had the cab which I have, which is an angled 412 with the private jacks in it. Plugged
Yeah.
into that, and it was like, that's the one. The the thing about it was the high end was just so silky smooth.
Yeah.
That's what did it for me. It was kind of like, that's perfect. The tone of it is just absolutely on point.
Okay.
So yeah, I've always used that. I've got another cab in there which is a Randall 212, which actually has the vintage 30s in there.
Yeah.
I have a couple of 112s in the other room as well. They're awesome. The 112s, they were treated pre-Christmas to a couple of 1978 Celestion G1280 speakers.
Whoa.
Awesome. They're
Cool. Yeah.
so ridiculously good
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
So
It's great to be able to experience that tone,
yeah,
in a cab rather than, on a load box and stuff like that. It's just so cool to be able to crank it up in a live, room and just see what it feels like, especially playing through it, man. This sounds amazing. So,
it's a bigger part of the sound than just the amplifier.
yeah,
I often say that to people that, yeah, the amplifier does contribute a lot to the tone, but the speaker cab actually shapes that. It actually
yeah,
determines how you hear it. So it's a bigger actually part of the equation.
yeah.
So whenever people say, "Hey, my amp doesn't sound the way I want it to," I'm like, "What are you using for a cab?" I always recommend that they look into the speakers.
Yeah. Cool, man. So I've been on your YouTube channel just literally before this chat, and the first thing that comes up is a collaboration video. How did that come about?
Which one?
I think it's the first one. I think as a visitor, when you click on your channel, you get the first one. We got all these cool guitarists and singers all together, and it just sounds amazing, man. It's a long video, but a lot of shredding.
Yeah, that was the lockdown collaboration which we did last year, because once we hit lockdown last April in the UK, I kind of like, put it out there to people if they wanted to do a collaboration. And it was actually my friend Eamon Weiss, who kind of approached me and said, "Hey, we should do a collaboration during this lockdown." I said, "That's an awesome idea." So
Yeah,
he was part of it, and then I reached out on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, and we had like 36 people contribute to it. And what I wanted to do with that was, rather than just make it a shred fest, um, I found some singers. We've got a trombone player on there. I play sitar on there. My wife does a little stint where she goes, and breathe. She's a meditation teacher, so
yeah,
she did that, and then we had my friend Rainer doing piano on there as well. Had some really cool guitar players. Had two of my guitar heroes on there as well. Had Alex Doroso,
yeah.
who's just I've been a huge fan of his forever and a day, and had Ron Robertson, who used to play in Dio and who plays in Raiding the Rock Vault now, and
Cool, cool
just
stuff, man. Cool,
yeah.
cool stuff. So, being a guitarist, have you been ever approached, for doing any session work for, say, other bands or other musicians?
Yeah. I regularly am approached to do stuff, and there are some people who have done a lot of work for, some people who just one-off jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I take that on sometimes, schedule dependent. And a couple of years ago, Contributed a lot of solos for my friend Reiner's band. It's called Rainium.
Yeah.
We have a CD out which is called Sounds of Berlin. So I did most of the solos on that album, and we're working on a new song at the moment as well. So I'll be playing on that, and yeah, just
Cool
now and then
stuff, man. Cool,
stuff.
cool. So earlier you mentioned that you're a guitar teacher. So how did that come about, and how long did that, been going on, and what made you get into it?
Well, initially it started because I was approached by somebody in 2005, actually, asking whether I'd teach. I can't remember how he found me, probably from social media or something, or one of the message boards or something like that. And basically, this guy was so devoted, he used to drive down from Nottingham every 2 weeks, right? So he'd drive down, we'd do a 2 hour lesson, and then he'd drive back. And we did that for a while, and that's what got me into teaching. And then in 2006, I as much as I kind of like dug being a lawyer and stuff, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do for like the next 40 years.
Yeah.
So it was always in my mind to kind of change over. And then in 2006, I got the opportunity to start teaching. So I basically approached a music store, and they had a teaching department, and I started to take on students, and that was basically driving around to people's houses and teaching kids how to play and stuff. So I got into it that way, and then it just built up after that. When I moved to Brighton, carried that on, and that was 2008. And in fact, from that point, I had started to do online lessons even then, back in like 2008. So now all of my teaching is online because a lot of my students are in America and Germany. So get to do that.
Cool stuff, man. That's really cool to know. So in that, I'm guessing that is your home studio setup there, right? And do you do pretty much all your work there? Cut tracks, mix the tracks, mastering as well. So is that everything done there? Do you ever go into a traditional big studio for any kind of work that you can't do there or not?
No, I have never had the necessity to do that because I have everything here to do what I need to. And if I need drums done, then my friend Dave Bloom, you can see him actually play on one of my tracks on YouTube, one of my recent ones. We did a blues track together.
Yeah, I think I spotted that. Yeah, it was something called some blues. I don't know what it was called, some blues.
Masala Blues.
Oh, there you go, man. There you go. I missed that word.
Right? So we did a collaboration together, and he's an incredible drummer, and he has a fantastic recording setup. So if I ever need drums done, then I can, just message Dave and get him to do stuff.
Yeah, so basically he has his own setup, his studio, and all set up and ready to go. Cool, man. In a way, that's how I work with my session drummer, believe it or not. During the lockdown period, he kind of set up, took his double garage, whatever, and built and soundproofed and put his drums in there. And that's how I've been working with him at the moment, So the next EP coming up is, I think, the wife has kind of pushed me to do 2 EPs. So I'm going to do the first one is pretty much there. When I say pretty much there, I'm still working on it. So got 5 tracks on the first EP. And so it's quite a tricky thing whether I get my drummer to do, live acoustic drums and do both. Send over some MIDI drums as well, so I can blend that right in, just in case I don't get the exact room sound I want or whatever, just to make the mixing process a bit more, quicker as whatever. Anyhow, it's all that good stuff, man. So that good to know that you do most of your work just in that space there. It's it's really cool. So are there any tips and tricks that you want to share that you've learned along the way as a guitar player, as you're tracking, and what to do and what not to do.
Right. Well, I a lot of my teaching is actually over the last year or so has shifted over to teaching people how to record and capture what they do. Um, there are two tips I can give. The first is create a template in whatever DAW you're using, whichever digital audio workstation you're using. Create a template where you have all of your tracks, your guitar tracks, which you're going to record to, have them panned left, right, have them bussed to various buses so that you have your effects on there and stuff, and have it all set up so that you can literally plug in within like 2 minutes and be recording. And that's how I basically work. You
Yeah.
know, I have a template which actually has 4 rhythm tracks set up, 4 lead tracks. They're all bussed to the rhythm bus, the lead bus. I have my delay and reverbs already kind of like put at the perfect levels on those tracks. I have my impulse responses loaded up, I have my channel strips, everything done. So it's literally just a case of going in and populating that. That's pro tip number one. Saves you so much time
Of
rather than
course, man. Yeah.
professional. Pro tip number two is that record as much as you can, because just like guitar playing, right, the art of recording gets better the more you do it. So I got good at recording because back in, I think it was like 2013, 14, somewhere around that time, I had a project come in and I literally spent the next 3 months, about 3 days a week, recording for that. And it basically kind of like, gave me so many hours worth of recording experience that by the end of it, it was like, cool, if I ever need to record anything, it's going to be a piece of cake. And there's nothing that can substitute that experience. That experience, actually, if you're doing it by yourself, then once you have that experience, you can basically apply it over and over and over again. And that's how I work quickly. So
Yeah.
they're the two things I always recommend to people.
Cool, man. That's great couple of tips there for sure. So a very quick one here. So if you have a solo, running through your head, and so I want to lay it down and I've got to finish, how long will it take for you to actually be satisfied? Like, okay, I've done it. This is it. I'm not going to work on it anymore.
Depends on the complexity and whether I'm kind of like recording a cover version or if I'm doing my own thing. If I'm doing my own thing, then the process is very quick now. It's basically plug in, kind of rehearse it for a little while. Maybe, it'll take half a dozen takes or something like that. But then, I'll nail that take and it'll be like, okay, done.
Yeah.
And in the past, it just used to be painful to do. But now it's a very, very quick
Yeah.
process. I think
Yeah.
that's the experience and just the confidence in how I
Yeah.
play and stuff. I know the licks that I like, and I know how to translate what I hear in my head onto the fretboard and what works for songs and stuff. So
Cool.
I'm
That is
very
the experience talking, man. That is absolutely the experience. Sounds so cool, man. So cool. Anyhow, before we end this, I'm really, yet again, really appreciate you taking the time and having this chat with me. So before we end this, do you want to give a shout out to, anyone, your fans or your endorsees,
bunch of people. Well, obviously the people who follow me, especially the guys on YouTube who kind of just follow me and comment on the videos each week. I try and comment back to everybody, so it's a very interactive thing. So if people haven't done so already, head over to the YouTube channel and come kind of check out some cool stuff. And then a bunch of people, Kevin at Iconic Guitars, he's such a sweetheart and he builds such amazing instruments. I love that guitar. And also Stefan at Red Stuff, who, his amps are just sublime, his amps and pedals. Bryce Boyd over at Epic Amps, we've got some really cool stuff in the works. It's just kind of like going to be mind blowing when they get out there. Those amps get out there. So, and he does kits. We actually have a kit for the Purple Number 39 if anyone's interested as well. So they can go and check that out. And then Dogal Strings, these guys, they're a big endorser of mine, and I love these strings. We awesome.
Cool.
Hot tone and gravity picks as well.
Yeah.
They're awesome. That's everything I use, I think.
So what are you up to right now, man? What is cooking right now?
Right now, I'm
Did I
kind
say
of
cooking?
absolutely. I'm putting some masala into some videos. I'm actually planning February because all of my January videos are done, and I'm starting to plan February, and I've got some pretty cool stuff going on. Got a couple of guitar builds which are going to turn up on the channel. One of them is very, 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 very special. Got 2 amp builds, which one's already started, another one's going to start really soon. And then I'm going to be doing some more Van Halen stuff, which I'm having a lot of fun doing, actually. I've done a few things over the last few months. So, yeah, I've got another Van Halen thing coming up pretty soon as well. So,
Cool,
yeah,
man. That sounds really cool. And yet again, man, thanks you so much for taking the time and having this chat with me. I really appreciate it. So, guys, that was Jay Parmar there, who's an amazing guitarist, a cool producer, and also builds custom guitars. So, thank you for sticking around. So, take care, man. See you
thank you.
sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. There you go. Virtual fist bump.
Virtual. That's cool. Let's go for it. We're getting the times wrong, man. Bang.
There you go.
We're getting it wrong again. Let's go for it. 1, 2, and 3. Poof.
That's it, done it.
I screw it up all the time, man. Anyhow, take care, man. Take care.
Thanks, man. See you later.